Yo, what's up guys, Sam here. Welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing pretty well today. You should be, because iOS 13.3 just dropped alongside pretty much an update for every Apple product you own. macOS, watchOS, tvOS, and even HomePod OS, although it just technically runs a variant of iOS. Those updates are all out as well, so go ahead and get updating. In this video though, I just want to focus on iOS 13.3, which definitely seems to be the biggest update of the bunch, even though it's not that big in comparison to previous iOS 13 updates. So per usual, I want to show you what's new. Drop a like if you're excited, hit subscribe for more. Let's go ahead and dig into this changelog. Also, quick fact before we get started, it is December 10th, 2019, so that means Apple just released the new Mac Pro that was initially previewed at WWDC earlier this year in June, and it's pretty wild. The base specs, honestly not that good for $6,000, but if you go up to $52,000, which is pretty much near the top cap of this machine right now, but more upgrades are coming, so it's going to get more expensive. I don't know. I don't even know how you judge the value of a $52,000 computer, but it's here for any creative professional that needs to spend that much money, which is not me, by the way. First up inside of settings is a new option under screen time called communication limits. So if you've ever wanted your child to not be able to talk to certain people after a particular time of the day, or just in general, you can set general communication limits, even preventing introduction in group chats if you want to cripple your child's social life. You've also got during downtime, which is wild. So you can literally add contacts in here from your existing ones or dedicated new ones so that they can only talk to these people whenever they're not supposed to be messaging others. So if you've ever been worried about them talking to somebody late at night without your approval, you can actually restrict that now on device in iOS 13.3, and this is going to be a fun one. I'm just really happy that my parents didn't have this when I was growing up because, I don't know, this would be really annoying. But if you're a parent, I mean, hey, you get to lock down who your child is speaking with. Now, changes like this are super rare, but on the home screen, there's actually a new icon, or to be more specific, there's a slightly tweaked icon. So if you take a super close look at the Apple Watch icon on iOS 13.3, the digital crown no longer has that solid black circle in the middle. It reflects the design of the Series 4 and the Series 5 watches, rather than like the Series 3 when it was red and, you know, took up the entire digital crown. I think it looks slightly nicer, but at the same time, I mean, it's a pretty tiny change. Inside of the Stocks app, Apple has made a couple of changes. As you all can see, I don't use the Apple Stock app all that much, so it's sort of like reintroducing me to everything. But for these top stories right here from Apple News, if you live in Canada, they are now available in English and French, if you'd like to read those from Apple News there. Also in news, when you're reading articles in Apple News, you scroll down to the bottom of one like this, you're going to get related stories right here, but now more from that same publication. So for example, more from the Wall Street Journal if you're interested in reading more that they have to offer. And also when there's a new breaking or developing top story, Apple will sometimes put a label there, but I guess these are all technically too out of date now to actually show you what that label looks like. But you've seen it in the news app. It just says, you know, breaking or developing, and it lets you know that something is still sort of in the works. Now in Apple News proper, there's also been some changes. News Plus for big magazines like the Wall Street Journal and others, they've got a redesigned layout. Now, I'm not one of like the 7 people in the world that subscribe to Apple News Plus, so I'm not going to subscribe just to show you, but if you are, look forward to a refresh design there. I don't know, I tried the trial, I tried reading it, and then I realized that I felt a lot of the content was just stale and definitely not for, like, I don't know, a younger person like myself. Maybe that's not the target demographic, it probably isn't. And also when you click on a story now, you can either like it or dislike it with just one tap, as Apple claims in the release notes. On some stories, you can swipe left or right to do that as well. On none of the blue, it doesn't seem to work, but you can do that still there. On trending, you can do it as well. So you can push left or right per normal, but you can also now tap. So tap on that and then see these buttons down here and tell Apple whether or not you like the content you were seeing. Next up, inside of the Photos app, you can finally make changes to a clip without altering the source material. So now if I want to trim this down or make literally any edit, I can just go down here to the bottom, tap on done. You can see you've got some new options. First is save video, and second is save video as new clip. Save video will modify that original source. Save video as new clip will keep the original video intact while giving you a second copy of it with just the changes you made and probably wanted. I'm pretty sure that was in iOS before and Apple's brought it back. And it's one of those things where you would question why Apple would possibly remove it in the first place, but it's finally back, and you know, it took some time, but 13.3 does fix it. If you're somebody who's not a fan of Emoji Stickers taking over the first spot for emojis on the keyboard, Apple has heard your pleas, your cries for help, and they have fixed it in iOS 13.3. You can now disable them completely by heading over to Settings, General, and Keyboard, disabling Emoji Stickers, stickers, and I promise you'll never have to see these again until somebody sends you one. If you'd like to use something physical for two-factor authentication, iOS 13.3 in Safari now supports NFC, USB, and Lightning FIDO2 compliant security keys. So if you get one like this UB key right here, if you're logging into your password manager or you're trying to authenticate yourself on Google possibly, you can just plug this into the bottom of your iDevice and then actually get authenticated that way rather than getting a text code. If you're interested in buying this, I'll leave a link to Amazon down below, but I don't know, it's kind of a cool concept. You don't have to get something texted to you. You could actually just insert something into your device. And then there's this slew of other changes. So in Mail, I got to give Apple credit here because they are relentless with the Mail app changes. If your Mail app is having a hard time retrieving messages, then, well, it should be fixed. I mean, I haven't had any issues recently. I feel like I haven't at least, but if you have, then they should finally be fixed. But Apple's also said that 6 times, so who actually knows? But that's not all. If you have a Gmail account and messages weren't deleting properly, Apple says that should be corrected, and more issues with Exchange have been fixed as well. For Exchange, there was an issue where incorrect characters would display in messages, and there could be duplication of set messages. So at this point, I feel like all bets are off. I didn't realize Apple changed that much with the Mail app, but apparently they changed a lot more than we thought and are still, like 3 months after iOS 13 came out, trying to fix the bugs. Next up, inside of Messages, if you took a screenshot and then tried to send it, sometimes it would appear blurry, which obviously wasn't what Apple wanted, so that has been corrected too. Next up, completely hidden from us, but present hidden inside of iOS 13.3 are new strings, or basically pieces of code that show us that Apple is planning a follow-up to Powerbeats 3. These are your standard Powerbeats headphones attached with a wire that are on the cheaper range. I think they started around $200 compared to more expensive options like AirPods Pro or Powerbeats Pro that came out somewhat recently. These are going to feature the new Apple H1 chip that support everybody's favorite Siri trigger phrase that I don't want to say to set up all of your devices, but if you're looking for that hands-free Siri support or even announce messages with Siri functionality, these are going to be a pretty good option to look at, and while there's no concrete release date just yet, they're probably coming within the next month or two. Everybody's favorite hidden iPhone feature where you can tap and hold on the spacebar and drag the cursor around was having some issues in prior updates, so you definitely want to update to iOS 13.3 so that when you actually press and hold, it moves around reliably as it should. When you took a screenshot in markup and tried to edit it in some tangible way, it may not have saved properly, so you did all that work, you spent hours working on this project, and then you hit save and it wasn't actually showing up in Photos. iOS 13.3 makes sure that you don't have to cry anymore about that. Next up, in voice memos, if you were an aspiring artist, you just recorded a hit, you may not have actually been able to share that awesome audio with another audio app. There was something wrong where you just couldn't share it, and I feel like I actually saw somebody run into this the other day, so that should also be fixed. The list just keeps going on though. I'm very happy I didn't experience this one because I probably wouldn't have been able to fall asleep, but if you had actually received a missed call that you didn't answer on the phone app, you went to the recents to clear it, you would go back to the home screen and that one little badge would still be there. So even though you got rid of the badge, it didn't go away, which could have been a big issue for some people. Apple says they squashed that bug too. Now, I would say definitely my favorite feature in iOS 13 overall is dark mode, but if you had smart invert on, in iOS 13 in previous versions, and you also had dark mode enabled, there was sometimes an issue where dark mode just wouldn't turn off. So even if you were like, please, I do like that my retinas aren't burning out, but I really want to get out of this strange dark mode, it's so frightening, you weren't able to do that, but now you can. So, if that's the reason to update, actually, honestly, I wouldn't mind if dark mode was on all the time, so that's actually not too bad of a bug. And I've got to turn the phone around for this last change right here, because if you used wireless charging, there was an issue in previous versions of iOS where charging may be slower than you'd want it to be. I don't know how that one sprung up either, and I actually wirelessly charge every night. I didn't notice any issues or changes in the previous iOS updates to make it appear slower, but it's going to be back to where it at least should have been in the first place in iOS 13.3 due to that little wireless charging module right there. And it doesn't even say this was just for iPhone 11 or iPhone 11 Pro. Seems like any iPhone with wireless charging may have been impacted. So definitely update if you do wirelessly charge on the regular. And of course, this video would not be complete without looking at the security changes, call kits, CF network proxies, FaceTime, and a bunch of other good stuff. The security there has been improved. Apple has fixed a number of vulnerabilities, even with kernel as well. And among those big fixed vulnerabilities was one actually for AirDrop that was pretty interesting. Now, luckily it did not get too widespread, but essentially when triggered, you could continually airdrop someone something so that no matter what they did, no matter how hard they tried, they could not escape those constant pop-up boxes. Apple's fixed that, and snaps of the person who actually found this. I'll leave a link to their blog post all about it down down below. My performance and battery life so far have been really good on iOS 13.3, about the same for me as 13.2, but even that was really good. So that's all I have for you guys in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you learned something new. If you did, drop a like down below, and of course hit subscribe for more like this in the future. That's iOS 13.3 and iPadOS 13.3. Get updating them and let me know what you think down below, and I'll see all of you in my next video.